as we begin our beautiful message once more, taken from the golden pages of our Ramchaitra as well as Sri Hanuman Ank. It is said the holy text, the Hanuman Ank, is a text that has been written and spoken by the words of Bajrangabali. It is one of the texts in which Mahavir Swami gives his own interpretation when it comes to Ramayana and when it comes to his pastimes and his life story. As Bajrangabali narrates according to his scripture, there came that day where Paunaputra, after the battle and after the war of defeating Ravana, it is said Bhagwan Shri Ram, Sita Mata, Lakshmana, Bajrangabali, Jamwant, Nal, Neel, all these came back, all these individuals came back from the forested region after the years of exile. While they came back to the palace, it was then the most appropriate time where Bhagwan Shri Ram was about to be given the kingdom. He was about to be given the rightful throne in which he would sit and he will rule the beautiful city of Ayodhya. And while the Lord had come back after retrieving Sita Mata, he sits as a proper king. Alongside him, his wonderful Dulahin, his queen. And beside him, Bajrangabali. Message begins where they would rule that kingdom for many years. And while they will rule for many years, it is said one day Bhagwan Shri Ramachandra notices that Sita Mata, she has a particular glow. It is said he notices that on that particular day, she's shining, she's more radiant than she would normally look. She's looking extra beautiful. And while she's looking extraordinary, he walks up to her and he says, Devi, today I find you looking so wonderful. What has created this aura and this shine around you? It is said all of us have an aura that we must allow to take control of our life. When we live in a proper way, when we live happy, when we are contented, when we are successful, when our mind is at peace, we project a positive aura. We project an aura that will shine, that will beam to the people around us and to the environment around us. So when you walk into a particular place, those around you will feel uplifted as well. Those around you will feel nice. Those around you will feel blessed. When you walk with a positive aura, people around you feel divine. But when the aura is contaminated by the world, it is said no matter where you go, you will always be uncomfortable. And to those who you will come in contact with, you will feel a sense of quietness within you, where you will not feel to trust anyone, where you will feel unsafe, where you will feel, my dear friends, uneasy. And even those around you will simply glance or look at you, and even they too will see your distress. Have you ever looked at somebody and just by looking at their face alone, you say, look at him, boy, you look like you're in real trouble. Have you ever looked at people and just looking at their face, you could say, you know what, he look like he went through real stress. Whereas you look at some other people and when you look at them, automatically you say, you know what, I wish I could be like he. He always looks like his life is just perfect. Friends and devotees, the aura that you take will determine who you are. Never allow the world to contaminate your aura. You can be going through the worst of problems in the world. Never allow the world to contaminate you. Remember that question that we will always ask? Are you happy or are you happiness? We will be happy because of something. But if you know that you are happiness, you do not need something. You do not need anything. A person can sit by himself for 5 hours and be happy and contented. And after 5 hours, you go to him and he will never be depressed. That is an individual who knows how to find his happiness. Whereas an individual who depends on the world can never be happy by himself. He needs something. For example, do you know that if some people sit down with their phone in their hand and that phone will ring after 5-10 minutes, they become uneasy? Do you know there are some people, if they sit and they hold their phone in their hands and after 15 minutes a message will come, something wrong? The uneasiness. They need company. They need somebody to message them. They need something to do. They need to be occupied. They cannot find happiness with themselves. Remember, true happiness lies within yourself. You do not need to depend on anything or anyone. And when you find that, your aura will be like Sita Mata. Your aura will project goodness. Your aura will beam. And those around you will find you looking extraordinary. Our message begins where it is said, Sita Mata is looking extraordinary. Bhagwan Shri Ram says, Maya, bahut sundari ladki hai. You look so beautiful today, ma. What has caused this upon you? And Devi says, Prabhu, I have a secret to tell you. But you must come to the room. I don't want anyone to hear. It is said beautifully when the Lord Bhagwan Shri Ram speaks to Sita Mata, he says, Devi, what allows you to create this beautiful aura, that glow that you have? And the mother says, Lord, no matter what the world will hit at you, remember to always keep that glow. We have to be positive, to let go of the things around us that disturb us. And if you can do so, you will glow from within, and that shine will shine on the outside. But there's a greater meaning. But before that, she says, Prabhu, remember that chandan? Remember the tikka? Remember the chanda that is cut from the tree? We need to live like this in the world, where no matter how much people try to cut us down, give off your sweet fragrance, give off your nectar. Be nice to those around you no matter what. Because when you act back, when you reproach, and when you decide to take revenge, what goes around will come around. Live in a world and live in a way that there's no repercussions that would come. Live knowing that whatever happens, happens by the will of the divine. Sita Mata whispers to Bhagwan Shri Ram, Prabhu, can't you realize and understand why I am glowing? Prabhu, I am about to bring your children into the world. Prabhu, it is now the very beginning of conception where I am about to begin family way. But no one knows us yet, Prabhu. This is our secret for now. The Lord becomes so happy. The Lord becomes very excited, and while he's excited, it is said he goes outside and he calls many of the ministers of the kingdom. He calls on Lakshmana, but he doesn't give the word as yet. He just simply says to them, share in abundance for everybody. Give wholeheartedly, and when you give, you will receive in turn. But give wholeheartedly, not with the expectation of wanting, just give. How many people are strong enough to give? How many people could give? Some people only like to take. Or some people giving, but they're giving like this. And they're pulling it back a little bit. Some people give, but they're waiting. Well, when I give you, you know what to do now. You pass back this side. Give without expectation. Give freely. It starts with the prayers and the puja. When you're performing your puja, give freely. Feed the devotees as well. Place your offerings well. When you're offering to the devotees, never hold back. When you're giving to the world, when you're giving to those who are needy, when you're giving to those who deserve, give wholeheartedly. It is said by giving wholeheartedly, you are clearing your conscience and your ego of the world. It is said at the same time, while Sita Mata is sitting in her room, she feels a shadow entering. Many devotees haven't heard. She felt a shadow entering the room through the window. And when that shadow entered the room, it is said the mother, she dressed back and she sat down on her bed and she put her hands together, Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram, to ensure that she was protected by Bhagwan Shri Ram, no matter what evil forces that would have been coming or trying to attack her. Do you know at that moment when the room or the window area was open, it is said a shadow entered that room. Who was the shadow? It is said the sister of Ravana, after so long, she came back to visit Sita Mata. It is said the sister of Ravana, Suparnaka, it is said, she entered that room. And when she entered, why did she come? She came to put her hands together to say, Sita Devi, I miss my brother. Maybe he would have done wrong, but I know that he did it only to protect me. The entire episode began from when? Why did Sita Mata, why was she abducted? Because it is said the sister of Ravana had gone to try to capture the eyes of Bhagwan Shri Ram. And when her nose was cut and she felt disrespected, she went to her brother and she says, Ravana, stand up for me now. The whole episode began because of that, and Ravana said, really? So he cut your nose? I will go and take his dullahin from him. The entire thing began right there. And while it began right there, it is said the sister of Ravana felt now so hurt. She knew to herself her conscience was beating her. It started because of me. She went into the room of Sita Devi. She put her hands together. She says, I miss my brother after so many years. Can you do me one favor, Sita Mata? Sita Devi says, Batao na, tell me. She says, can you please tell me what my brother looked like? Because after that episode, I didn't see him for years. I know he abducted you, and I remember that point where everybody was saying Ravana had died. But I never saw my brother after. Hurting for my brother, can you please tell me what he looked like? And what did Sita Mata say? She says, great one, I would be honest to tell you that throughout my whole period while being abducted until even today, I never saw the face of Ravana. The day I was abducted, I bent my head out of respect for my husband. The day I was carried away, I bent my head. I cried, but I bent my head. When I was placed into the palace of Lanka, I bent my head, and even on that day, when Ravana came with a sword and he says, if you don't look at me, I will behead you. Even then I looked down with tears rolling from my eyes and I said, no matter who would come, you can come with your sword if you want. We would always remember, when you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. She never raised her head, but she kept respect for Sri Ram. Suparnaka says, so can't you remember an image? She says, not for a moment did I raise my head. I cannot remember. But if you want me to remind you of something, I remember on that day when I was abducted and I was looking down at the ground to ask for help, I remember the shadow of Ravana as he stood on the chariot, and that shadow it fell on the earth. It is said Sita Mata bent her head, and she then took, at that moment, onto the wall, she took a piece of chalk and she started to draw. This is what I could remember, and this is what the shadow looked like. As soon as she drew the shadow on the wall, she then said to Suparnaka, this is what I remember. What did the sister of Ravana do? She walked up towards the wall. It is said, and when she walked towards the wall, she placed both hands on the wall and she says, my brother, if this is the last image I can get and remember and be reminded of you, I embrace this, because as a brother, you were only standing up for me. Maybe your intentions were wrong, but you were standing up for me. How many people stand up for one another? How many people in today's world stand up for their family members? How many brothers stand up for their brothers, and how many brothers fight down their own brothers? How many children in a home, or brother and a sister grows up together? And while growing up together, it is said they would love one another, but one day probably the brother gets a better job than the sister. Well, war start there. Or probably the sister gets a better job than the brother, and he feels now envious. Problem starts there. It is said in this world, people fight too much. And while they fight, they don't realize that time is too short to fight for the petty things. Till they do acknowledge, it is said time will be lost. And when it is lost, there is no coming back. Today, our message, start letting go in this world of the troubles that affect you. Today, beautifully, we are here performing a yajna. And one of the reasons of a yajna, one of the purposes of a yajna is sacrifice. Sacrifice what? Sacrifice in letting go of the things of the world that affect you, and become a better person day by day and moment by moment. It is said at that point in time, Sita Mata, she sits in the room, and it is said Suparnaka places her hands together and she says, Maya, after giving me the image of my brother, I will now leave. In today's world, my dear friends, we must learn to start letting go of the problems of the world that affect us. Maybe our life is not going the way we want it to be. Maybe our health is not as we want it to be. Maybe a job crisis has taken place, or maybe in your school, maybe in your workplace, there may be situations that you can't handle. Sometimes we become frustrated over petty things of the world. Start letting go, my dear friends, of the situations that depress you. At the end of the day, when we leave this world and you go to the Almighty Lord, the Lord doesn't want to know how long you took and how much time you wasted in depression, in hurt, and in emotional crisis. But He looks at how much time you took in prayer, in devotion, and in building your mental strength, your physical strength, and your emotional strength. It is said, my dear friends, while Sita Mata, she sat in the room, it is said she put her hands together, and at that very moment, it is said Suparnaka left and she went on her way. While she went on her way, Bhagwan Sri Ramachandra, he goes down to the earth and he starts to feed everybody. He starts to share food. It is a blessing to share food. That is why our yajnas have been designed in such a way. You come and you intake Atma Gyan, which is knowledge. And after you receive knowledge of the Divine Lord, then you are fed. Then meals are prepared for who? For who? Everybody. You ever hear anybody say, well, tonight, special thanks, you will take your arti and meals to the Baba alone? You'll ever hear that? Meals are prepared for each and every one. We will satisfy everyone. We will ensure that everybody will leave contented. Their tummy will be filled. When someone leaves your home and they are hungry, they take the barakat of the home and they leave with it. But when someone comes to your place and you feed them or you give them something to drink and they feel comfortable by just leaving with a contented mind, just by leaving with a contented heart, they leave a blessing in your home. That blessing can never be replaced. It is said with that blessing, an individual of the home or family members of the home will rise to the greatest heights and they will never fall. In our message, while Sita Mata, she sits there, Bhagwan Shri Ram is sharing to the world. He's sharing to the public. He's feeding as much as he can. He's sharing wealth, he's sharing gold, and he's sharing food. But while he walks down to the road level and he's seeing devotees of the village, he comes across a situation. What is the situation? Shri Rama, Jai Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jai Rama, Jaya Jaya Ram. It is said while Bhagavan Shri Ramachandra walks in the road level, he sees two people. He sees a fisherman and he's arguing with his wife. What are they arguing about? Listen. It is said Bhagavan Shri Ram is walking on the streets and he hears a fisherman arguing with his wife. How many husbands argue with their wife? Bharat, you could put up your answer. Why was he arguing with his wife? It is said he had seen his wife not too long ago in broad daylight. She was standing and she was speaking to an individual in the market area. He doesn't know what the conversation was, but she was speaking to him. And while speaking to him for a lengthy period, as soon as she had returned home, Bhagavan Shri Ram, he hears what is taking place. What does he hear? He says, or he hears while the fisherman speaks to his Dulahin. The fisherman says, today everybody had to come and tell me that you were speaking to that individual in the market for so long. And because you were talking for so long, don't expect me to be like Sri Ram to accept you back in this house like that. After you spend time talking to him, go back right there and stay right there. Jai Bhagwan. Are there people like this today? Are there people who can be controlling like this today? If you talk to somebody, trouble? All the youths of today, all the young people of today, if you are in a relationship and as soon as you get in a relationship, the boy says, well, don't let me see you talking to that one. Trouble start right there. If at the very beginning, the girlfriend says, I don't want you talking to this one, trouble starts right there. As we say, people love you for who they are, for who you are. But the minute they realize that they can have you, they mistreat you and they try to change you for what they want you to be. Not so? We have all come in the world with a uniqueness. We've come with our own qualities, our own characteristic, as an individual, as a person. And the minute people try to control us and change us as to who they want us to be, we lose our identity, we lose ourselves, and then we cannot be happy after that. We cannot find happiness after that because we no longer will be our true self. As a child growing up, you will have your ways. As we say, we monkey around sometimes. As we will say, sometimes you will do your own tricks and you will like who you are as a person. But the minute you change to be somebody else, you won't find your real self. You will be lost and be what that person wants you to be. Bhagwan Shri Ram, he hears of it. And that fisherman says, I will not accept you like Shri Ram. I am not Shri Ram to take you back in my home. If he could do it, he doesn't have respect for the kingdom. And when the Lord hears this, his heart starts to hurt. As a king trying to sacrifice to the world, this is what the world will think of you. Do you think everybody will like you? Do you think everybody who talks to you likes you? Do you think everybody who smiles with you will like you? Do you think your best friend loves you because you are just the best friend, or do you think that they have a reason behind it? Think carefully and see who are your friends. People will laugh at you and show you the best. But the day they can't get from you, the day you cannot stand up for them, you are nobody to them. Not so? Who are your friends? Who will respect you for who you are? Everybody has come with their identity and they shall be respected for who they are. Bajrangabali says, Pavana Sutta Hanuman ki. He says, Jai Shri Ram. Whoever loves me, love Shri Ram first and then love me. He says, whoever loves me, know that I love Shri Ram. And if you don't like Shri Ram, don't come around me. Some people say, yeah, well, I like that too, so we could be friends. And then later down the road, well, I really didn't like it, but I wanted to be your friend, so I tell you I like it. Do not make compromises for who you are. You are unique. And you cannot change because your inner nature, it is called a swabhav. You've been born with it. No matter how much people try to change you for your true nature, a day will come where you will realize that you're not happy. It is said while Bhagavan Shri Ram sees what is happening, he becomes unhappy inside. He understands that as a king, he has a kingdom to rule. He has a duty to perform. But while doing his duty, he's also an individual. Which one to follow? Remember, everybody from the world, no matter who may stand with you, alongside you, not everyone will be your best friend. That is why you must always stick to the gods and the goddesses. Stick to your prayer. Be guided and allow good people to come with you. It is said by devotion, God allows the right people to associate with you. And God takes away those who are not needed around you. While Bhagwan Shri Ram hears such, he turns away and he starts to walk. And there's so much in his mind. This is what happened. Bhagwan Shri Ram comes back to the kingdom. He goes in his chambers and there he sits down. But he's looking down, he's looking depressed. After hearing the news of the people of the village, he realizes that no matter how much he will stand up and he will try to be the best king, there will be those who won't like him. You can do your best for plenty of people. At the end of it all, some people don't appreciate your best. You can go all the way, you can go all out for many, but some people just won't appreciate your best. As we say, your best may not be the best for some. While this was understood, the Lord, as the Lord of the universe, stood in front of his kingdom. And he's wondering now the decision that he has to make. He has been, in his mind, he has been so happy just moments back to hear of the blessing of the mother. And now, he sends one of the ministers to call on Sita Mata. He sends one of the ministers to call on Lakshmana. And Lakshmana, my friends, is summoned. As Lakshmana comes to that room of Bhagwan Shri Ram, he knocks on the door. He opens that door and he enters. And when he enters, he sees the Lord seated there. The Lord had taken out his crown. He had taken out all his ornaments. He sat down just like a normal individual of the village. He was down and he was depressed. His head was bent. It is said, and his eyes would be filled with tears. And Lakshmana walks in. Hare bhaiya, kya hua? Did somebody make you sad, brother? If somebody has made you sad, you just tell me who that person is and I will destroy them immediately. Lakshmana says, Prabhu, I cannot tolerate seeing you looking down and depressed like this. Let me ask you a question. Do we look at our parents sometimes who are down and out and leave them just as they are? Are we the cause of allowing our parents to be sad and depressed and dejected? Or are we the cause of their smile, their laughter and their joy? To those who will make them smile, it is said, gods will bless you. And to those who hurt them, it is said, Devatas will forget you, they will reject you. While Bhagwan Shri Ram bends his head, he says, Bhaiya, don't worry. No one has given me trouble. Brother, I have a message for you today, and I want you to listen. As the king of Ayodhya, I will give you this note today. I want you to go to Sita Mata, and I want you to do this favor for me. I want you to allow her to now sit on your chariot. And I want you to tell her that you're going to take her for her nice ride. And take her into the midst of the forest. And I want you to leave her right there. When you reach in the middle of the forest and she stops there, remind her. She had asked at one point to go back into the forest to meet all the sages. Who could do that? Who is strong enough to do that? Shri Ram is weighing the odds. As a king, I have a responsibility for the kingdom. And as a Dulaha, I have responsibility for my wife. What will this sacrifice be? He says if you were to step down from the kingdom, the world wouldn't understand the sacrifice, the yajna, the yagya that is to take place. He decides now in his mind thinking, I've lost her once. And this time I have to give her up. Lakshmana, don't tell her anything. Take her into the forest, be nice to her. But when you reach that point, say, Ma, by the words of Shri Ram, you must remain here. It is said when Sita Mata was walking through the forest, they would pass many of the hermitage with the sadhus and the swamis. And she will always say to Prabhu Ram, can we stop here? Can we see the sadhu? Can we stop and see the swami? And Bhagwan Shri Ram will always say, don't worry, we will come back. He says, Bhaiya, tell her she has the opportunity to go to all these sages and meet them once more. She can go once more and greet them, receive their blessing. But brother, when she would ask when I would return, what to tell her? He says, Bhaiya, just turn away and walk. How can I be so cold to someone? How can we be cold to people of this world that we hurt them and we leave them right there? How can we be so cold to many people that we hurt their heart, we hurt their life, we turn their life upside down, and then we walk away like nothing has happened? How can we be so cruel? Lakshmana is wondering in his mind what to do. But he has to listen to the orders. Bhagavan Sri Ramachandra, he says at that point, he says, Bhaiya, I am the king. And as the king, follow my orders. Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Oh, part of our scripture, my dear friends, that is barely heard. It is said Sita Mata has been sent back into the forest. Lakshmana goes and he says, Maya, Bhagavan Sri Ramachandra, he said that you wanted to go back and meet the sages. Let us go, Maya. Give me 15 minutes. I'll be outside waiting with the chariot to go. And the mother is excited. So she goes and she takes a urni and she packs a little jewelry and she puts some things in it. She's about to take sweets and take a few things to the sadhus. And while she packs her jewelry, Hare Lakshmana, aayenge, I'm coming. And she walks outside. But where's my Lord? Where's Prabhu? And Lakshmana says, your Lord is in his room, he's in his chambers, but he's very busy, he can't see you now, ma. And his heart is hurting to tell this lie to the mother. But he has to follow the orders of the king and his brother. So what does he do? Harimaya, auna. And he goes and he sits himself in the chariot. It is said the mother sits down in the chariot, but every 2 minutes she would look back. I wonder if he will come and look for me. I wonder if he will come and greet me as I'm going into the forest. Will the Lord come to look for me? At that moment, she looks back once, twice, 3 times, but the Lord doesn't come. And she turns her head and she's heading into the forested region. The heart of Lakshmana is hurt. It is said he is shedding tears and these tears are rolling down. He doesn't know how to do it, but while he's wiping them one by one, he tries to not to allow her to see these tears. What happened, my dear friend? It is said the mother is taken into the forest, and while she goes into the forested region, it is said she is going deeper and deeper. Lakshmana, can you remember the path? Because it seems as though we are lost. All I can see is trees, all I can see is the forest. Are you sure this is the way? And Lakshmana, he doesn't answer. He doesn't say anything, because what will he say? He doesn't know how to respond to the mother. While he's lost and he doesn't know what to say, he keeps driving into the forest, when suddenly the chariot stops. And he says, Ma, you can step out here now. She says, but where will I go? All I see is trees everywhere. Ma, you can step out, I will tell you. So the mother comes down and she's excited. It is said the mother, she steps down from the chariot and she goes onto the grass, and Lakshmana says, Ma, well, I will leave you here for now. Hare Bhaiya, leave me here. There's nobody here. Where will I go? We were supposed to meet the sadhus and the rishis. Maya, don't worry. So, are you leaving now? Ha, Ma. When will you come back? He doesn't answer, but he turns around the chariot and he's about to go. He's leaving the mother right there. And when he turns around and he's about to leave her there, the mother now questions, Hare Lakshmana, but Auna, speak, say something. Why are you leaving? How long will you go for? When will you come back? He doesn't say anything, but he starts to shed his tears and he starts to weep. And while he's wiping the tears, Bhaiya, please tell me what is happening here today. Lakshmana doesn't know how to answer. Bhaiya, batao, tell me. And she puts her hands together. Her heart calls out, what have you done to me today, Lakshmana? Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Oh, everybody bolo Umapati Mahadeva ki. The mother is all alone. What does she sing? Shri Rama Jai Rama. When you are alone, when the world has left you, when you feel you have nobody, when you are lost, when you're depressed, when you're confused, when you don't have a direction, when you don't know where to go and who to turn to, what to do? Call out to God. Shri Rama Jai Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jai Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Oh. It is said the mother stands there. Will my Lord come? Nahi ma. Will you leave here and never come back? Ma, I have been instructed by my brother as the king to leave you here. But what will I do, bhaiya? Ma, mujhe malum nahi. I don't know, ma. But he put his hands together and he says, forgive me, please. This is not my doing. Forgive me, please, ma. Lakshmana, did he tell you that I am about to bring his children into the world? And you would leave me here like this, Lakshmana? Ma, really? But ma, what could I do? And he put his hands together and he turns around. And when he turns around, he climbs onto his chariot and he's about to leave. The mother drops on her knees, my dear friends. And falling on her knees, it is said she starts to cry. When she starts to cry, she's wondering, what will I do and where will I go from this point? But lo and behold, my dear friends, it is said while Lakshmana is leaving the mother there, in the palace of Ayodhya, in the kingdom of Ayodhya, he is all happy, he's all contented, and he has come to meet his Lord. He has come to see the divine Lord, Bhagwan Shri Ram. Hare Jai Shri Ram. It is said he walks into the room of the Lord. Hare Prabhu, Mata kaha hai? Hare Prabhu Shri Ram, Mata kaha hai? Ma, where is my mother? Prabhu, where is my mother? Bajrangabali, my dear friends. He is called Pavanaputra. He is called Mahavir Swami. He is called Sankat Mochan, the remove of sorrows. He says, Prabhu, where is Sita Mata? And the Lord is about to speak to Bajrangabali. And he's about to tell him where the mother is. And as soon as he hears the words of Shri Ram, that she has been left in the forest by herself, it is said he takes his gada and he throws it on his shoulder. The most mighty and most powerful one, Pawan Sudha Hanuman ki. It is said as Bajrangabali, Pawan Putra, the son of the wind god, he walks outside of the palace and he's about to take his leave. He says, no one will dare hurt my mother, Sita Mata. And as fast as the wind, as sees the wind god, listen, my dear friends. Bajrangabali, 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 Bajrangabali. कबलों के हमरे कबरिया हो, कबलों के हमरे कबरिया हो, बजरंगबली, बजरंगबली की, पवन सुत हनुमान की. It is said as fast as the wind god, he travels and he makes that leap. And while Lakshmana has left, the mother seats herself onto the earth and she feels the wind blowing around her. She feels the energy of the Lord coming to save her. And who is coming to the forested path? Beautifully, my dear friends. It is said Bajrangabali, he circled the mother. And after circling the divine Devi, at that point in time, he landed before her. He took his gada, Jai Shri Ram. And he says, Ma, whenever a mother is hurt and she calls upon me, I will be there. Whenever a mother is hurt, disrespected, if that mother were to say, Om Shri Hanumate Namaha, I will be there and I will rid her of all her troubles. Sankat Mochan will be my name, the dispeller of sorrows. The mother at that point, she put her hands together and she says, my Lord has deserted me. Lakshmana has left me. But I know that I can count on you, my child. Because even in the midst of the forest, even in the midst of the kingdom, when I sat beneath the Ashoka, the only one who brought hope to me, that sign of the ring was you, Bajrangabali. You are the Lord of hope. You are the Lord of strength. And today, by your grace, I will feel comfortable and blessed. He says, Ma, you will have to undergo the ordeal according to the karmas of the world. But I will let you know, if at any point on your journey you need my assistance, close your eyes and just think of me. And with a mere thought, I will be there. It is said all we need to do is think of God, and God will be there for you. But how many people think of God? We forget God half of the time. We go about our daily lives, on our daily duties, forgetting God. And only when trouble comes, then we say, let me check the Baba boy. Probably something wrong. Then we say, well, let me do our prayers because nothing going right. Only when something happens, we remember God, my dear friends. Don't let it be. Let every day be a day that you will think of God in whatever form, whatever manifestation. Allow God to be on your thoughts, in your mind, and on your lips every second. Like Bajranga Bali,